Brad, we heard with sadness yesterday the passing of the great George Foreman, aged 76.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it shocked me. I was just going to where when that happened, Marty, and, what a beautiful man. And I was fortunate enough to meet him.
Oh, really?
Through when he brought out the grills all those years ago, and he came out. And he was doing all of the media street, at 3AW and places like that. And I was there, and I loved him because obviously with Fenech and went to the Hall of Fame and all of that at the same time, etc. So we're trying to get Jeff on. He's I'll certainly make that call shortly. He's in Thailand at the moment. Just a beautiful man, and what a legacy he left, and. Two of the biggest fights of all time, Marty, to be brutally honest, and we all remember the Rumble in the jungle in '74, and he lost that, and it took him a long while to get over that. It took him a long time to get over that, but to his credit, mate, he was just a humanitarian. It was just unbelievable what he did with being a preacher. And the thing I loved about him most, Sophie. He called all of his kids George or Georgina.
Did he? Right. Hey,
so he didn't, because he had that many belts around the head. He thought, well, I can't forget him if I call him George.
Very good point. The other thing with him, he was typical of that generation. He started off on the wrong side of the tracks, got into a lot of trouble as a kid before he got straightened out, and then got into boxing. 1968 Summer Olympics, won gold. People forget that, and then from there that launches him. And Brad, that was the time of I don't care what you say, 60s, 70s, maybe early 80s in the heavyweight division, best ever.
Oh, 100%. And look, that was back in the time, whereas there was only one. There was only one heavyweight champion of the world.
Yep.
There wasn't 1,600 divisions, and if you haven't got one, we'll make one up. It was quite remarkable. And I remember vividly driving to footy games with my dad and my mum, and South Fremantle games or whatever it is, or going to the Royal Show, and there'd be a fight on the radio, Marty. It was on the radio. It wasn't on the TV. It was on the radio. And you used to listen intently because that's the only way you could do it, a bit like the cricket back in the day.
Well, the old one is where you were at the time, that old one. So when he won his World Championship, he beat Joe Frazier, 1973, second round knockout. We were in Bunbury on holidays at that time. I can remember it because it come over the radio and I went, wow, Joe Frazier got beat. Because that's how good Joe was. Yes. Who's this George Foreman character sort of thing?
Yeah. I heard. I actually remember hearing that one on the radio, going across the old Fremantle traffic bridge because we were going north of the river, because my nana lived in North Fremantle, so we're going across there, and that's why I remember. Doesn't it amazing where were you when these things happen?
Yeah, but a former president who was the head of the CIA can't remember where he was when JFK got shot. That's an interesting one. Morning, Marty, Brad and Sophie. I think I was 2 when he got shot and I can nearly remember where I was. This is, let's get into this one and then we've got the great man coming up in James Sullivan. Lisa from Allenbrook. Good morning, Lisa. She even gives Sophie a little plug. Guys, good to see common sense prevailed and Lobs free to play as most of us thought he would. Dogs, Collingwood game, 47-3 kicks, 13 went Dogs' way. Few umpired decisions that they penalised the Dogs for. The Pies got away with doing the same thing. Go figure. Boys, I know it's only the waffle and a scratch match, but at the moment, any win for the Eagles will take. They knocked off the reigning premiers Peel yesterday. Draftees to impress were Beau Allen. Should be in the team today to play Brisbane. Shanahan kicked 3 goals. Hamish Davis 2 goals. Midfielder Gross was influential. Bazzo, no signs of foot injury. And Jack Williams, among the club's best, should also be in the team. Please, Bailey Williams is back in the ruck. The Eagles should have stuck with Bailey, in my opinion. Always a better option than Flynn, and hope they stick with him. They need a stable ruckman. The Eagles have to do what the Saints did to the Cats last night. Be the hunters, not the hunter right from the start. And they can't dish up that pathetic, insipid crap they dished up last week. Brad, with Waterman and Hutchison out, should they have included Shanahan and Beau Allen? Take care, enjoy your day, Lisa.
Yeah, great SMS as always. Just the back end, I don't mind today. It's a tough assignment going up there, Lisa. It's a tough assignment going up to the Gabba. Lockie Neal held to 10 possessions last week. It's going to be a long day at the office, I would have thought, Marty. good idea. Bring Bo Allen and maybe Shanahan if they need it or available. So I think Bo Allen will be for the Derby next week back at home. I think there's a bit of merit in that rather than playing. We saw the young boy Murphy Reid do really well down at Geelong last week in about 6 minutes, but either all around that, it was pretty tough going. So, yeah, I think they've made the right decision in leaving those boys home.
Here's a man who's seeing them very well. James Sullivan joins us. G'day, Sul.
Hello, Marty. Brad, isn't it nice when people
Sully.
are including Sophie in the messages?
Very
like
important.
that. I like that.
Very inclusive.
Yes.
I think you've got them all bar one, haven't you?
Yeah, all bar one. That was the game. We sort of tossed it up and sort of... Yeah, I wasn't real sure about that Dolphins game last night, but all credit to West Tigers in that one. You know, when it was on the line, they had enough points in them to claw their way back. To score those 3 tries in the 12-minute mark, obviously, changed the game up when you got... But it's all of a sudden, you've got Curacao back in the side, and we all know he's world-class, mate. And all of a sudden, mate, I tell you, haven't they woken up, Tigers supporters?
Good on them.
Brad, they're booking October already. I went settle.
Well, let's go back to Friday night. What about the Storm and the Panthers? That was a cracker.
I tell you what, that one Thursday night, of course, mate, that kicked it off. But it was one of those games, wasn't it? Because we sort of thought they jumped out of that 14-0 lead, Brad, and we thought, by how far? And then Nathan Cleary got the HIA. Wasn't it carnage? We were talking on Friday, weren't we, Marty? It was just carnage at Amy. And then they sort of took the foot off the hammer. And he wasn't happy, Craig Bellamy. But at the end of the day, they got the points and they got a few injuries out of it as well.
Yeah, coming to cost. So what's the update on the injuries?
Well, Jerome Hughes, he's got the broken hand, so he's had surgery. And then Nick Mooney ran into, a brick wall called Nelson Esophageal on his head. So he's had the broken jaw. So that's it. We know Cleary will be stood down for 11 days, so he won't play this week.
Okay, Warriors 14, Roosters 6, and then Broncos 26 took care of the Cowboys 16, but didn't cover the line. They were the 2 Friday games.
Yeah, good win, the Warriors. It was a real dour struggle, but they were up against a side that had lost their last 8-2 in the Roosters, and as we know, they hadn't beaten the Roosters in Auckland since 2018, so they broke the duck. And we spoke last week, Marty, about how, at home last year they were poor, the Warriors. They're 2 from 2 now. That's very, very important. That second game, Broncos always in control. They tried hard, the Cowboys, but, it's one of those times when you look at it, 12-0 at half-time. That's what set it up for the Broncos, and they did enough.
Tough times for the Rabbitohs, that's for sure. And the Tigers are making a move finally after all of that with a really, really solid win against the Divans.
Yeah, they got a wake-up call, didn't they? You mentioned that Sharks and Rabbitohs game, and as we know, the Rabbitohs went into that one 2 from 2, but 20-0 at half-time, and then they scored again early in that second half. Braden Trindle scored on the 45th for the Sharkies, and all of a sudden that was all over. The Rabbitohs scored a couple of late tries in the 69th and 74th minute, but Sharks were impressive yesterday. And then, as you mentioned, the Dolphins, they sort of controlled the game. And then just this little bit of belief. We saw what happened in the second half last week with the West Tigers against Parramatta. Well, they did it again last night. So, yeah, they'll be more than happy with that, Tigers fans.
And the Titans, you tipped them 26, beat the Knights 6 at home.
Yeah, good win there. Yeah, good win this, 12-0. Another side that had trouble winning at home last year. So, but they've got such an impressive record against this Knights side. So they were good. And interesting enough, obviously, Kalen Ponga tried to rally the troops. It was interesting listening to Adam O'Brien after the game, and he just said we weren't patient. We tried to play like the Titans. I'll tell you one thing about this Titan side, boys. They can score some points when they want to.
Okay.
This young Jaden Campbell, like Preston Campbell's son, we don't call him that anymore. We just call him Jaden Campbell. He's an impressive human being on the footy field. He is. So, yeah, good win.
Right, 2 today to look at. Parramatta Eels at $3.25. The Bulldogs $1.33, 8.5. And then Manly $1.70. Canberra $2.16. That's 2.5.
Yeah, that's changed a bit. I hope people got on a little bit earlier when I sort of pushed the Raiders on Thursday morning because they were about 250, 260 at that stage, and then we heard that Tom Travojevic wouldn't play. This first game, this is great league rivalry. The joint will be humping today, this CommBank Stadium. But when you have a look at it, this is an amazing stat for me. The Bulldogs have won 2 of their past 16 at CommBank. 2 of their past 16.
Wow. Yeah.
They must get the shivers. They must get the cold sweats when they walk into the joint, Brad. But and the Eels have won 4 of their last 5. No kick out, no Burton. That's got to help.
Yeah.
But the way the Eels are travelling at the moment, they've really, really got to pull something out. I know Josh Addo-Carr looks like he'll play against his old club, but the one thing with this Bulldog side at the moment, Marty and Brad, is I believe they've got a bit of depth. Bailey Haywood had come in. Tupanua comes into the pack for kick out. So I'm more than happy to still go the Bulldogs, mate.
All right. How do we play it?
Well, I've had a bit of a look. I'm just getting my notes here, mate, and I'll just tell you how I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it Bulldogs to win by 5 or more, right?
Yeah.
And I've got Stevie Crichton to score a try. So my play, the last game, Marty at Brookvale, how good's this? And we talk about it, Brad. We always say, we talk in rugby league about the old days. When you've got the Jersey flag, you've got the New South Wales Cup, and you've got the NRL. That's what we've got today. The Sea Eagles versus the Raiders in 3 grades of footy. Oh, can't wait. This Raiders side, not many sides come to Brookvale and take the points. They've won their last 2 at Brookie. And as I said, Travojevic out. I like the Raiders today, boys. So
wow.
My little play is going to be the Bulldogs 5 or more.
Yep.
Into the Raiders 1 to 12.
Yeah.
Let's have a play there. They're 2.12 to win the game. $3.50, 1 to 12. We'll go 5.46 there.
Mm-hmm.
And my try any time, I'm going to go the skipper from the Bulldogs, Stevie Crichton, into Hudson Young, the back rower for the Raiders at $6.30.
Okay. And you'll put them out on socials?
Yeah, I will indeed, mate. Yes, Brad?
I was just going to say, the Seagulls, obviously, Daly Cherry Evans, he's a beauty. He's a veteran. Is he going to extend for another year, do you think?
Well, they're umming and ahhing. Mate, you know what I think? I think they'll wait till halfway through the year. Because what concerned me last year, as we know, he's getting a little bit older. What's he in his 15th NRL season? But when you start to get back spasms, you know what happens from a board level? They get back spasms as well, Brad.
And wrist spasm. Not signing that.
DCE, exactly. Is DCE all right? So I think he still deserves it. He's playing great football. But that concerned me last week.
Yeah.
You know, and the look on his face was he was in a lot of pain. So we'll just wait and see what happens, no doubt. But definitely deserves it. You got a couple of young kids coming through. There was a boy that was going to go and play Union, but he stayed at Manly, so he could be the future. But he's not ready yet. He's only, as I said, he's only an 18-year-old. So I think it's a great way to finish the round, though. 2 sides that, yeah, well, at the moment. I'll tell you what, the Raiders can go 3-0. They go to Townsville next week.
Oh, they're up and about.
Oh, mate, they're 4-0. And we did say at the start of the year, they have the easiest draw in the comp. And it's good to start well. Okay,
you've read that beautifully. Sal, thanks for coming on. We'll do it again next week.
Stay safe, boys.
He's a beauty, James Sullivan. I see Oscar Piastri, Raiders, his first pole draw.
On the pole, yeah, he's flying and
up in China.
He's a fantastic young driver. Yeah, China.
$1.90.
So hopefully he gets it done.
He's $1.90. Lando Norris, he won at Melbourne, didn't he? $3.50. Georgie Russell, $8. Max Verstappen is $9. Lewis Hamilton is 13. McLaren's back, I see. McLaren. They were useless a while back. Now they've come good again.
Yeah. No, Piastri obviously got pushed back to the back of the field there last week, and when the rain came and all of that sort of stuff, and it was interesting because Verstappen said, I didn't try to challenge for the win because it was too hard to pass. Well, Piastri went back to about 14th or 15th and managed to pass 5 in 2 laps. So I don't know what George was on, but anyway, he's a beauty, Marty. And as I say, it's a bit like the horses. If you get a good driver in a good car, away you go.
Good combination. Hey, Toddy, off the text line now, he's not going to weigh into this umpiring crap. He said, no, hang on a second. All this talk about the umpires having an effect on the outcome of the Bulldogs-Pies game is total crap. How many of the 7 shot that hit the post did the umpires kick? I bet Beveridge it's the revived game with his players. We lost it there because the umpires made a wrong call. I don't think Beveridge would be saying that at all.
He's diplomatic. He's been very diplomatic, as he always is. And, but there's no, as I say, it's not how many you get, it's where you get them. And I think there were some significant things there that come back to haunt the umpire.
Just before we catch up with the boys and go over east and pull apart these two meetings, and what did you think of this comeback performance by St Kilda to beat Geelong, the only upset of the round so far, 98-91?
Yeah, good on them. Good on to St Kilda. They've got a good record. I think it's about 4 times in a row now. Geelong
don't like Marvel.
Quirky. No, they're a quirky club. They hate coming up the highway. Yeah. And they hate going to Marvel. I mean, they're gettable at Marvel. I think St Kilda got about the last 4 times they've been there now. But those records are made to be broken, Marty. I mean, I don't want to bring up the war, but Adelaide hadn't won at the MCG for the last 10 starts, but they managed to have a win yesterday. Yeah, exactly. So these things are made to change. But, yeah, there was a really, really tight one there. I thought Closer had got a toe poke on that ball in the last quarter. And they were up by 40, 41 points at one stage, St Kilda. But that's what happens. We say it all the time. It's about attitude. It's above the shoulders. If you come 95, you come 5% off and you're not ready to play, Geelong weren't, you'll get whacked. And they got whacked nice and finely in the first 2.5, 3 quarters.
Quick one here. Adelaide, the real deal?
I'm happy to leave it out for the moment. As I say, if you win in a month and you're going well, you look like you're going to be right in it. If you're having a bad month and you're not winning any games, you look like you're right out of it. So I think it's going to be one of those years. Harder tasks to come for Adelaide, but they have invested really heavily, haven't they, Marty, over the last couple of years on midfield and forward line, and it's all coming together in that regard.
Yeah, they're just right place, right time at the moment. The fact that Essendon was able to score 100 against you, but are they going to be that team that just say, right, we've got this forward line, we're going to blow everyone away and just beat you on the scoreboard? But when you come into the finals, you rarely win a grand final doing that.
It's the Malcolm Blight ethos. We'll just outscore you. We might leak, but we'll outscore you. And you can see what they've done. And having Rankin in the midfield is just absolutely brilliant. Their captain's going well. And there's Tilthorpe and Fogarty. And about time they took off too, you know what I mean? So if you get the ball in there enough, push Rory Laird out to the back, half, back flank, etc. So you're not losing too much there. But, I agree with you. I think their challenge will come when they play better sides than your boys yesterday.
We'll take a break and we'll be going up to Sydney, catch up with Chris Nelson after this. Racetrack Ralphy to come. All of that before 7. You're on the Aftermath.
Sunday morning, Tab Radio Racing and Sport is turned on. And you are listening to the dulcet tones of Marty Young and Brad Hardie on the Aftermath.
Oh, yes, and talk about dulcet tones. What about Chris Nelson, who joins us? A very good morning. Hey.
Good morning to you, Marty. Good morning to you, Brad. And what a great day's racing we had yesterday at Rosehill.
How good was it?
Oh, unbelievable. You couldn't get much better than that.
I thought the track, early on you wanted to be in and up, didn't you? But there were some races where they made ground, but I still think it was beneficial to be closer to the lead than back.
Well, I don't know. I've got my, I think track bias is one of those things that does get overrated at times, and maybe the best horses were on the inside section. Yep. At the time. I mean, we'll get to the ninth race, I think it is, where Briasa made stacks of ground out wide later on. I mean, there are other horses that did run on and make good ground. So
they didn't win, though.
I think it gets overplayed at times. No, they didn't win, but they ran on.
Morning, Chris. Let's get him in chronological order. Race 3, pretty much a procession.
It was, and have a listen to some of these sectionals here. And look, they didn't make ground here, but why would they? I mean, 12.26, 12.69, 12.84, 12.97, 12.99, 12.65 until they finally broke 12 seconds, and that was from about the 800-metre mark. So it was a sprint home for LL Cance here, who was rated beautifully by Tim Clark. Well, rated beautifully or let get away with murder. I suppose you could look at it either way, but nothing else gave itself a chance in the race. I thought Birdman might be able to turn the tables. I was just iffy on that last run, but I thought we'll give him another chance here. He was disappointing. He had the 1-1, and he did move up in the straight to tackle Alec Cance, but he petered out on the finish, and he didn't run on at all. So all honours with the winner, who did get away with it, though. The ones that did run on were Athabaskan, Strathbay and Cleveland, they all made decent ground. Our Anchorage will go for a spell, suffered cardiac arrhythmia.
Yeah, Mannion Cup's always a great guide to the Sydney Cup, and it's now into $5 Alicante, so it's going to be the one they'll all have to beat. We've got Tom Charlton coming up between 7 and 8. We can talk to him about the run of Athabaskan in second. Race number 4 and Autumn Glow for Chris Waller, James McDonald. She looked in a little bit of trouble there, and Rich seemed to be travelling better. And then she dug deep and blew him away.
Yeah, well, she obviously been by the Autumn Sun, as we know she wants further. So for her to get the win over 1,200 was a very good effort, because you're right, Marty, I thought Enriched was bolting into the straight, definitely going better than Autumn Glow. J-Mac was into Autumn Glow, but she was able to grind down Enriched over the concluding stages. So we know she's going to get better over further, and that's where she'll be heading. So I couldn't see much else out of that race. We just keep on backing Autumn Glow, and Enriched probably gets away with something that she's not in.
Race 5 was Aranvit, another Group 1 for Via Sistina, and sometimes these can be tricky affairs, those small fields.
They can, and look, Full Count Felicia, the American mare, went out in front here. I thought she might lead by a bit further. She won a race over there by a space when she got out with a Vo Rogue type lead. She only led by 2 or 3 lengths. She only ran 12 second, high 12s again. So she didn't really go that hard. She might have been the clear leader, but she wasn't flying in front. But she couldn't go in the straight. She'll improve off that run. Via Sistina's just too good for those. She always travelled well. Lindemann battled on well. Faulkner Park was solid again. There's a win coming up for him, you would think. But, yeah, Via Sistina, she's off to the Queen Elizabeth next month, and I'd say she'll be winning that.
Well, what about the Rosehill Guineas? And Broadsiding got his win. Terrific win. I think he's 4th Group 1, is it? Aliana, the filly, she copped a bump at the 200, may have just costed the race here. Swift Falcon, funny old ride this one. Tyler Schiller put him into the race a long way from home, and he was still there at the finish, beaten less than a length.
Yeah, I reckon you're reading my notes here, Marty, because I've pretty much written down everything you said there. I'll just start with Broadsiding, A good ride. I mean, he got across from gate 9 to be won by 1-1, and that's what you expect from J-Mac. So the ride probably won the race. Aliani, you're right. I've written here, bumped near the 200. Terrific late, and she was. So she'll head off to the Oaks now. Remember, she was a good thing beaten in the 1,000 Guineas down south during the spring. So you'd like to be on her in the Oaks. Swift Falcon, you're right. Look, he was handy earlier. I get the feeling they might have been trying to ride him a little bit closer, which would have been smart, but he ended up drifting back to 3rd last. And then Tyler Schiller, he took off at the 700. He made up 4 lengths very quickly. Then he sat there. I thought, maybe he should have gone on with the job and tried to catch them napping. But he sat there, and then he chased, and then he couldn't quite get to them late. So jury's out whether he gets out over further. He's just got that racing pattern of getting back and giving these good horses a start. So I don't know. I'll probably have to jump off him. There was another good run here. Plymouth ran 4th. The Victorian was held up into the 200-metre mark. Whilst the others were full of momentum down the outside, he had to pick up and get going, and he was only beaten 1.4 lengths, and there was a further 4 lengths back to 5th. I'd say he'll head towards the Derby. He was a good run. So Aliana and Plymouth, both good out of the Guineas.
I'll just jump in there, Brad. 5th, Burn and Win. It's a 62 rater, formerly trained by Anthony Cummings, now John Thompson. What it was doing in this race, I don't know. What did it get for 5th? 18,000. But wherever it goes next start, if he gets it into its right class, it'll just win. It's a nice horse. It's a really nice horse, Burn and Win. You there, Brad?
Race 7 was
race next to that.
Race 7 was a fantastic edition of the George Ryder. Brilliant. Kiramar continues to sail on, but dearie me, what a run, Fangirl. What a run.
Huge run. Now, there was no tempo in this race at all. So Royal Patronage, who led, was disappointing. I thought Gringotts had the best run of all time. Always thought he'd win a Group 1, but I thought it would be a handicap. I really thought a Stradbroke or something would be his go. So now he wins it at weight for age. But look, the tempo did suit him. Fangirl, as you say, Brad, was absolutely huge. 3 wide, no cover, 5 lengths off them, and almost got there right on the line. I'd say Chaya Wolf is now ready.
Yes.
Had my doubts last run, but now is ready for sure. And Tom Kitten, he was good.
Very good.
He was 1,600 back to 1,500. Yeah, that worked against him. I always thought it would. So he'll go back to the Doncaster or back up in distance last start. And I must mention Buckaroo, who I still haven't got over in the Melbourne Cup last year. Did run the second fastest last 200. Tom Kitten ran the fastest. So there wasn't much between them. So he wasn't a bad run. He ran 3rd last, but that run was a lot better than on paper. So on paces, definitely had the better of it there.
I heard Joseph Pride before the race talking about Chow Wolf, and he said as an older horse, he's more mature, he's taken a bit of time to get the weight off him, and he thought that this one and then the next one were going to be his peak run. So, as you just said, ready to go now. I think Chow Wolf out to 2,000 maybe next start.
Yep.
Will be very hard to beat. Well, what about the slipper, Maruna, for Michael Freeman and Damien Lane? Beats Woden, Tempted, and Rivellino, a massive run from last to run fourth.
Yeah, well, the Riesling or the Riesling, however you want to pronounce it, was the best leader.
Yep.
He did rate the best time, so no surprise there with Maruna and Tempted finishing in the placings there. Interesting, Maruna won the race, sat 3 back the fence, got through. Woden ran second, sat 5 back the fence, got through. Tempted sat 4 back the fence, didn't get through until too late. Tempted should have won the race.
I agree.
He should have won the race, Tempted. Yep. You're right about Rivellino. Very good. He got through too. He was like last near the inside and weaving through all the way down the straight. So he was good. But yeah, the race should have gone to Tempted. Whether they push on and go to a size, I don't know. But yeah, well, Woden was good. Obviously got the breaks, as did Maruna. But yeah, if you're on Tempted, you can feel a little bit hardly done by, I would say.
Oh, Chris, I'll let Marty do the next one because he loves this horse. But just on that, going to the size and the Champagne, any of those that you feel as though we can? Is it Rivellino? Is that the one to follow going forward?
Well, I mean, Tempted's been down to Melbourne as well, so probably had a decent preparation. Not sure whether they kick on, but yeah, looking at the way these horses finished off, you'd have to say Rivellino would be the one you'd like to be on at this stage in a race such as that if Tempted doesn't go there.
I think you made this one of your best as well, didn't you, Private Harry in the Galaxy?
I love him.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I mean, the fact he was beating Lady of Camelot, or he beat Lady of Camelot last start, his trials were good, particularly his first trial. He just races up on speed, and he can do it both ends of a race. And they ran this race really hard. Brad's horse there, Eagle Nest and Front Page, who was huge, they ran it along at a slick tempo. He had a lovely run in behind them. He was bolting into the straight, and he was able to hold them all at bay. He'll only improve off that. He's 5 from 5. Hate to think what he'd be worth if... I'm sure the Hong Kong offers have come knocking on the door. God, they'd have to pay a lot of money, but he obviously isn't going anywhere. At this stage, Uncommon James was better. Briasa was good, had to go back from the wide gate. 2 lengths last before the home turned, reeled off some really big sectionals. There was a run here, guys. There was a run here, commemorative. I want to be on next start. Blew the start completely. Ran into all sorts of trouble in the straight. Was good late. I've just written in big letters, train wreck. Get on commemorative next start.
Well done to Nathan Doyle, though. First Group 1 for him. To Ashley Morgan, also first Group 1 to him. He's a colt. He's got a massive future at stud. A few people over here were trying to get him across for the Quokka, but they're just not interested in coming over. They want to protect his brand and stay in races that'll mean something to his black type at this stage. So off to the TJ Smith for him. He'll improve with that run. Interesting, he had synthetic hoof filler for the first time, which only picked up very late, and I started to get a bit worried. And my sources tell me that they hadn't been able to get as much work into him as they would have really liked to have him completely screwed down for the Galaxy. So you'd imagine he'll only improve going into the TJ Smith.
Yeah, it's funny. His first trial, he beat a couple of really good types. Sunshine in Paris was one of them, and he was bolting in that. His second trial, maybe they missed a bit of work going into that. It wasn't as good. He still won, but it wasn't as good. So, yeah, and the synthetic hoof filler, well, it depends who you talk to. Some people don't care about it, and others will say you can't possibly win. If he had got beaten tomorrow, we've all been blaming the synthetic hoof filler, I guarantee it. Or beaten yesterday, sorry. But he's a ripper, you're right.
Now, Brad, the last, Ostmar.
Yeah, I like this horse. It was a very, very positive ride from the gates, I thought, Chris.
Yeah, he's a horse that a bit of trouble catching. Didn't catch him yesterday. He was good. Just kept on going. She's an A-lister, was probably a bit stiff there. Coco Jambu, the one I like, ran a good race into third, just got too far back, but that's his pattern, and he's a first up horse. I don't know whether we really want to follow him too much out of that. Outback Miss, a little disappointing, I thought. So I don't know that there's a lot to take out of that last race. She's an A-lister, has a very poor record, actually, at Rose Hill, so maybe back to Randwick as well.
Okay, horses to follow and some winners at the Sunshine Coast today, if you don't mind. Punters.
Yes, sir. Aliana and Plymouth come out of the Guineas. Aliana will go to the Oaks, Plymouth to the Derby, follow both. Chael Wolf is now ready, comes out of the 7th. tempted if she goes on, Rivellino if she doesn't, and out of that 9th race, Briasa, and put a big highlight through commemorative. Today at the Sunshine Coast, not the best of meetings, Marty, so I'll just give you a small little multi. Race 3, number 1, Express Payment, into race 4, number 9, Deep Dawn. They both look well placed, but I wouldn't be having my last on them.
Okay, 3-1-4-9, Sunshine Coast. We'll tune in again on Wednesday. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy your Sunday.
On the Aftermath, you are listening to Marty Young and Brad Hardie on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Racetrack Ralphy joins us. A very good morning.
Good morning, boys. Now, I'm in a bit of a hurry today because we've got an interstate game at Marvel Stadium, so I'll just see how it goes.
Hey, listen, Ralphie, I know you always fancied yourself as a bit of a track curator. You didn't get on the track there yesterday at Moonee Valley, did you? Just go round and round and round the course, did you?
My godfather. So we had Group 1 meetings at Rosehill and Moonee Valley yesterday, and 19 of the 21 races combined, the winners were lanes 1 to 4.
Yep.
That's quality racing, isn't it?
Makes it easier for the punters.
Well, look, I suppose it does during the day if you can adjust.
Yeah.
You send, I don't know, let's say you put out your form race morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Say, this is what I think. And then by then you think, well, that goes to the bid. So, look, I've got a quote here from racing.com from Tony Salisbury, the curator. It's this time of year, this meeting, it always looks to the end of the line. We've got one more meeting, April 26th for the season. We'll do a heap of work on it. We haven't been able to aerate the track for a long time, as if we do, the track loses tension. The root system's not good. It's an old track. So they know they've got a problem there, but that was just a terrible, terrible meeting. Well, the horses just couldn't win from certain positions.
I heard him interviewed on RSN, I think it was Friday, and he said, Tony, that he thought by, sort of mid to late in the meeting they'd be coming down the outside and winning.
Yeah, he said they'd be off the fence, but then again on the Saturday morning, he sort of second-guessed himself. And look, I can get it because he said there was a big dump of rain in Melbourne on Thursday night, and basically what that meant is that it's ended up just exploding the track. So he sort of thought they'd be off the fence, and then maybe late in the day they'll even up against the rails. Well, by race 1, you just couldn't do anything out wide, and we'll get to them all, the reasoning, but it completely fell away. So obviously the big heavy dump on a Thursday night, if it was, let's say, in October when they've got the track humming, I reckon the track would have been a good, borderline good 3, because a good dump of rain normally on a Thursday night's perfect. They don't have to water on Friday, and then you get a good surface. So they've got issues there, and they should move the meeting from April 26th. Yeah,
the crazy thing, they downgraded to a soft 6, didn't they, after race 6 in sunny conditions?
Well, and I've got Vince Accardi's data through, and that provides a helicopter view of the track, and basically the track started at borderline soft 7, so that's just the reality.
Bird Dubai made that Revellari form look good in the first.
Yeah, well, they walked here as well, so it's probably got further improvement. Second local start. Congratulations to Daniel Stackhouse, who was following Bird Dubai and thought it'd be a good idea to hook 6 wide for no reason whatsoever. So I think the Shingus Prestige would be a horse to follow out of this for sure.
Is you watching race 2 for Prestige Forever fans for Bridie Oak and Jenkins? Just sat in the right spot, and got a little bit too far back.
Well, it was a good turn of foot, but this was we've got apples to apples here. The next race is over 1,200 metres, and it would have been beaten 5 lengths. So it was just a very slow first 800, and then it's dashed away. So I'm very sceptical on that form.
Good to see young Fred Kersey ride a city winner for Scott Cameron in race number 3.
He did, and I think there's a winner to follow with confidence, even though it got the favours, because it, obviously wasn't right at Flemington. I think heard post race Scott Cameron said, the horse just didn't switch on at Flemington. It was in the market and it trialled well, so just put it down to a bad day. He's a beauty, LOU. He makes his own luck out in front and tries hard. So I think he's got another win in him. But oh dear me, Pivot City, that was a shooter, and best last 800, 600, 400, and 200 a day. So it couldn't have done much more. I think what we can do with Pivot City is take that it's real. First up, its jump outs were super. It was gelded. Blinkers on, I think it was, from memory, and they just didn't want to trust the jump outs. But they got this horse humming now. Pivot City, one of the horses to follow from the meeting.
Ralphie, any issues with Top Calibre? Too bad to be true, really.
Well, yeah, I think it pulled up. I don't think it was right on the day, but I tell you one thing though, as I'm looking it up, you just want to always be careful about the horse that was unlucky, because it always starts under the next start. I've got here bounded at the start, effective, lost ground, 3 wide without cover. Craig Williams reported the mount was slow to begin, so and also a throat condition. So yeah, it wasn't right on the day.
Yeah. Really good finish in the fourth. I thought El Rocco at big odds was going to go up and Pip stay focused, but gutsy ride by Landorf to get it home.
He did. He rode it absolutely perfectly, and the data confirms that. El Rocco, once you saw El Rocco loom, you thought, even if you didn't look at times, you just thought, yep, this is a very slow track, because he's an absolute duck, El Rocco. Stay focused, has hung on with the 25th best last 200 of the day. So exactly as you said, Brad, it was just out of petrol ticket, so an inch-perfect ride, literally. That's what it's won by. But El Rocco, probably in for another good prep, the old boy. He's, like I said, the wetter the better for this horse.
Okay, they had the Yarra Valley Cup on here at the Valley after that was washed out. Basilina, this made a bit of ground for Yendall.
Well, it did, and the key was to make ground against the fence and then sort of switch out to a different lane, so that was okay. The market told you something here. It was 1 from 14 coming in, yet it was 14s into 11s. The race shape was they absolutely flew. So race to race, we'll get to the 3-year-old, and I've got a couple of statements to make there, but it would have been leading that by 20 lengths. That's how fast they went race to race. So I got why Savoir Fair ran well, because it's best as good. It was just had come in with 2 duck eggs, but Basilina, obviously the camp have got it right, because first up at 2040 super training performance, and it's in for a good prep, no doubt. The one to forgive was My Brother's Keeper. Wow, was this a run just in a non-winning position, had to make a run out wide, and they've got it humming, My Brother's Keeper.
Race 6, the Alistair Clark Stakes. Shanwha going really, really well. 4 on the bounce.
We might have seen 2 Derby winners in the same race here, because I think Shanwha will take a power beating in Sydney, and Statuario, I dare say they'll go to South Australian Derby. Like I said, soft tempo race, but this was a massive mid-race move, Statuario, and which is what we measure via Vince's data, and I think they've got it absolutely humming. It was big at the Melbourne Cup Carnival. It might have been Melbourne Cup Day itself, and it closed at the end of its prep. And I think it's in for the South Australian Derby, but I'm very bullish about Shanwha, and this soft tempo would take nothing out of it. It's only going to improve again in Sydney.
Chiller Cap, your man Graham Begg now, did he or didn't he? Did he?
Well, by then the shop was shut once I saw how the track was played. But at the 400-metre mark, pinching ground, and again, when it won at Flemington, that was when the rain really hit. So this horse is a duck, and it just sort of swam its way through. Just comparing what happened when we get to Grinzinger Bell with Craig Williams right here on 2 Darn Lizzie, I think the horse really dropped anchor here, and I think that in that going, it just lost its action a bit. So I think you can forgive 2 Darn Lizzie, but the Begg stable, my goodness, is its stats through the roof at the moment.
Wow.
So I think if it goes to South Australia and they got the horse happy, which I think was the indication, particularly if I can get some rain, this is just going to keep ploughing through.
Tongue-in-cheek, Shades of Sunline, and with Grinzinger Bell in race 8, and Evo Rogue just kept going, just out and away it went.
Well, there's another front runner too, Brad, in Pride and Jetty, that it was a fair set play from Daddy O'Brien to book Declan Brates, wasn't it? And that's exactly what the data's shown. So on a wet track, it was above benchmark, not only at the 800, but also from the 800 to 400. It was legless last 400, and everything else chasing it was too. So this was just a perfect ride from Declan Bates. I think he's going to get some good rides coming up on any front runner for sure. So and why can't it win again? Like it's just got that pattern that makes horses feel pain, and if you ride it properly, it's going to make everything else legless late, and that's exactly what she did. So I think they're going to keep having fun with her, this mare.
Well, Schwartz, he just loves that 1200 at the Valley, doesn't he? And he gets his Group 1, the William Reid Stakes.
Yeah, and good on Metho and the boys. I don't think I'm talking out of school here. I hope I'm not. But Metho actually rang me out of the blue a few weeks ago and said, he wanted David Schwartz number just to check that he was okay with having a good horse named after him. So,
oh, he does. Don't worry, he rang me straight after the race.
Exactly right. Yeah, the big fella loves it. He always gets text messages afterwards, so that's fantastic. So they've put plenty in. They got the right race and they got the right race day, and they got the perfect Jamie Mott ride at lead, and then he increased the pace from the 800, 400. I've got no doubt whatsoever that Benedetta and Jimmy Star were the best horses on the day.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't the best horses in that race shape and how the track was playing. Jimmy Star's going to take a power beating in the TJ Smith. Well, we at Randwick on a fair track, down the outside, that closing speed's going to be enormous. And you think Benedetta's going to try and defend her title in South Australia, and that's not just a Goodwood, but also she'll run really well in the Sangster as well.
Well, the Expensive Girl got race 10. It was a fantastic win, but there was a couple of great runs behind it.
Yeah, and Clean Energy was probably the outlier too, so you probably want to give that a bonus. By now, what was that, 12 lengths below benchmark the raw time before you adjust it, and it was super. And like I said, it was the one that was outside the lanes as well. So Craig obviously had very, very good confidence in this filly, and it was justified. I thought she was the good thing of the day, and she along with Kira Marshall or Shanwa, but by then I thought, I'm not sure if it can win against the way the track was playing, and it did. So yeah. Big tick there for Clean Energy. I think she's got more wins in store. She certainly handles wet track. We know that from her first prep.
Gay and Adrian had a very good day, and they rounded out with the instructor in the last.
Yeah, so by then there was just, there was one lane in operation, and it led and won. I didn't like the setup, I've got to say, of My Temptation coming in. Just it's still basically in its first prep, so wouldn't be surprised if they give it a spell now and they freshen it up, give it a good spell, return and win again. There's a little sneaky one here, Pounding. Doesn't handle wet track. It was just a fine for a 1200. Kick-off run there. I think he's in for a big prep. But the horse we can follow with a bit of confidence here. Like I said, I really like race 6, Shanwa for the ADC Derby, Statuario to the South Australian Derby, Jimmy Star to the TJ Smith, and the race 3 in a basic sort of race. LOU will keep winning, and Pivot City's a horse to follow through the autumn off-season.
Yep. All right, Ralphie. Now, what about Melbourne? Your boys against North. I know you think they should just win, but it's at Marvel. You've got a few out. Is it a danger game?
Absolutely, it's a danger game. I watched that game closely, North and Bulldogs last week. So, I'll take the 4 points if it's by 1 or 100 for sure.
Will he be in the Medallion Club, will you?
Now, Brad, that's personal information. Yes.
All the best to you, Ralphie. Always good to talk. We'll do it again next week.
Go, Dave.
Yeah, you find all these good stuff at racetrackralphy.com.au. Counting down to the news at 7 o'clock. You're listening to The Aftermath with Brad Hardie and Marty Young. Plenty of text to work our way through. Soph will have the Sunday Saviour winner for us very soon. But, Brad, let's pull apart a couple of those matches that we saw yesterday. We've covered off, of course, on Western Bulldogs and Collingwood from Friday night. Essendon, Adelaide. Gee, the same old problems are occurring at Essendon. And what are they going to do with that back line?
Well, exactly right. I mean, Mackay, as I said, I don't blame him. I mean, he didn't take – they offered him the money. It's a frontal-ended contract, so it takes him over $1 million per annum. But, it'd be hard to sleep at night. It'd be hard to – I've got to admit, you've got to have pride in your performance, and I'm sure he does. But he is just well below where he needs to be, and he's got a lot of teammates there at the moment. And the forward half was always going to be a problem without Langford, etc. As you say, they managed to kick 100 points, and that's a false economy. You know what I mean? It was became a bit of a shootout. But, Marty, it just appears on face value anyway. I don't know what you think, but let's just kick it long and hope someone catches it.
They'd be the dumbest side in the AFL, without a doubt. We've been asking them to do this for 3 years. Lower your eyes and try and find a No, we'll bomb it in. Shallow entry. They take a mark goal the other way. Efficiency inside 50, 52.5. Match disposal efficiency, 71.8. At some stage, Scott and his assistants have to take full... Well, it's their problem, isn't it, Brad? You've got to be able to be smarter than that, don't you?
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's just footy 101s that you got to try and work around. I mean, the parameter straight off the bat is work rate and effort. I mean, that's just a given.
Well, you get that. You get that.
And you get that straight away. And then it's a matter of, sort of when you've got the ball, try and keep it and manoeuvre it from one end of the ground to the other. As you say, don't go shallow because you want to kick it long, and it's getting cut off time and time again. Turnovers kill you. It's a massive KPI in footy these days is scores from turnover. And when you do it to good teams like Adelaide, who've got such a really good midfield and forward line structure right at the moment, they will punish you.
Like the look of Adelaide, as you said, that we've got to see more of them, but he's certainly got them firing. He couldn't afford to get away to a bad start, and conversely, he's got away to a brilliant start. 2 big thumping wins.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, they've got it right. In Jordan Dawson, they've surrounded him now with Rankin, runs through that midfield. They've got it breakaway speed. I mean, Crouch is still there, amassing plenty of the ball, but they just decided, well, we only need one of those in there. Keys has gone forward because he's a bit of a go-with play, but he's kicked 4 yesterday.
Yep.
Rory Laird's been pushed to the half-back line again. He's getting his 23. But those guys were as much as the ball they were getting, they were just amassing numbers, and it wasn't going anywhere, and it wasn't doing anything. So from that point of view, they've started to develop a little bit. Alex Neil-Bullen's been a resounding success, I think, Marty, coming from Melbourne. He can do a job, and it's bringing other guys like Rochelle and co into the game, where good turn out yesterday by Rochelle with his 4 goals. But he's always shown to have promise. He's had a few windies there at times where he hasn't sort of taken a bit of a peak, and he's worked through that. And you've got your X factors in Fogarty and Thilthorpe up there, and that means that Tex Walker can be icing on the cake for him.
Yep. Port have got this great bounce-back ability, and they showed it again. I know it was only Richmond at home, but 140 to 68, Tigers come crashing back to earth.
Yeah, well, it's to be expected with a young lineup like that. The kids had a real night out the week before, didn't they? And, fortunately for Port Adelaide, they were insipid, but they'd also had a good look at what these young kids were able to do. So they were able to hone into that. Ken's a good coach. There's no doubt about that. Again, we just have to run with that roller coaster ride that they're going to have. Every time they win, it'll be quiet. Every time they lose, when's Josh taking over? That's simply, unfortunately, the way for Kenny. But as I say, the Richmond kids, I mean, particularly Lawler, he got really, really set on early. Hardly even touched it till half-time. Got a few numbers in the second half, but that was just the story of the day. And I still believe, unfortunately, no Tom Lynch there yesterday due to suspension, but I just don't think they've got the glue anymore, Marty. Nankervis tries his heart out always, but there's a few of them spread around the ground who are premiership players. There's probably 5 or so of them left now, but they're not the same players as what Dusty and a few of those others used to be.
We spoke about St Kilda and Geelong early on. Any more to add?
No, just a really good side. I mean, some teams just play well against others. I mean, even it doesn't matter how low you are. I can always recall playing for the Bears. We always played well against Hawthorn. It was amazing. They would knock up winning premierships for fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it was bizarre. And St Kilda, for some reason, love playing Geelong, particularly at Marvel. As I say, that's the 4th time in a row now they've been able to take them out. So that's it's obviously clearly it's one of those course and distance specialists, Marty, as we like to back from time to time.
Let's talk about these games today. What are West Coast trying to get out of this game against Brisbane?
Oh, look, they've just got to go back to square one. This is frightening if you're an Eagles supporter, really. The big thing that concerns me is they're going up there. It's hard enough to win up there as it is. They're the reigning premiers. Lockie Neal hardly touched it last week. James Jordan kept him to 10 disposal. He's going to be hungry. I'm not sure what Calder's going to come up with today, but you just want effort. We just want some real energy levels. You know what I'd be doing, Marty? I was just thinking about it when you asked me yesterday. I'd be saying to Tim Kelly, we had Tony Liberatore on our show yesterday because of Friday night, and he was done. He was done, Libba. He was done and dusted. He was cartwheeling out the game that quick. It wasn't funny, and then they turned him into a go-with player.
Yep.
Maybe Tim Kelly reignites his love for the game by just say to him today, hey, mate, I want you to go and stand next to Lockie Neal, or I want you to go and stand next to McCluggage or one of the Ashcroft boys, and I want you to go with them, everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere. So give him a new impetus, a new life, because, really it's all going to be about Brisbane. Brisbane are going to do what they want to do. They're not going to be too fussed about what West Coast is going to do. So Tim Kelly, if he doesn't go and play on one of those guys today, he'll come up with 30.
Yep.
Because no one will care. You know what I mean? But he might be able to just maybe just needs a reignition in regards to for his love of the game. Maybe he starts to turn into and supply a little bit of help to some of those other midfielders and let them do a little bit of the work and and Harley Reid, etc. Because people say, oh, you should play Harley Reid on one of them. He'd be in a coma in 10 minutes.
Wouldn't keep up.
Wouldn't be able to keep up. So, but Tim Kelly's got the aerobic capacity, and maybe he should be one that they look at to try something to try and quell either McLuggish, one of them, the Ashcroft boys, or in particular Lockie Neal. Okay,
I'll quickly go to the text line for Retrovision. Richard from Kalgoorlie. Can the Eagles hold Neal down 2 weeks in a row, or will he go back to 30-plus damaging possessions?
Well, as I said, we've just discussed, if they leave him alone, he's going to tear him up. He's going to absolutely smash him. But if someone actually goes to him, and it's not about, James Jordan's a freak. He's one of those better ones in the competition. But, you just want to limit him. You don't want him having that 30, because if Lockie Neal has it 30 or 35 times, he's liable to kick a couple of goals himself. But the amount of ball he creates for his teammates is going to be immense.
One off the text line here, no name, 096, last 3 digits. Cheers to Tab Touch, got 200 to 1. The winner of the slipper no more than a few weeks ago. Michael Freeman, absolute legend trainer, will have a nibble on Fat Roy Slim each way in the Penny Cup today. That is the 6th golden slipper win for the Freedmans as a collective there yesterday, Brad. Enormous.
Oh, yeah, they're absolute beauties, aren't they? I think one of the most famous one was Merlin, when G. Hall just did a left-hand turn coming around the corner and take them all out back in the day. But no, they're fabulous, and those guys, they are a machine, aren't they? They've been an absolute ornament to the Caper for a long, long time, and they're coming through again. Unbelievable.
North Melbourne play Melbourne, as we said with Racetrack Ralphy not long ago. It is a danger game.
Yeah, it can be. It can be because, Melbourne were good last week in a lot of ways, and they had a few newbies in there, as we know, and their older players got the job done. Gorn and Oliver and Petrarca in particular, they were really, really viney. You know what you're going to get out of those guys. So sometimes you can only be as good as the opposition allow you to be, and you know that Clarko's going to make it a scrap. He's going to make it an arm wrestle under the roof. They do a really good job, North Melbourne, at this particular ground and venue, because under the roof they have there's sort of let's say their systems or their structures, whatever they want to call it, works really well. They try and just smother the game. You know what I mean? It's just going to be whether they can kick a winning score when they actually get it. Larky was pretty good last week. He will need to stand up again, but you'd think a few things are in favour of Melbourne today.
And the final game, what a Fremantle got to do here again. Sydney have got, 8 of their probably best 23 out. Yeah, let me have a look at this.
Yeah, look, I think
Seven, sorry. Yep.
Dean Cox will be. You'd like to be Dean Cox today because you have to go in as the hunter. Even though Fremantle were insipid last week, they are at home. We know how hard they are to beat at home. Shai Bolton makes his first presentation for the year, and there's a story behind that. Anyway, there's others that they've lost as well. But I just get the feeling I'm really interested today, Marty, to see what the Fremantle Docker players do for, and Justin Longmuir do for, because James Jordan last week, as we spoke about Lockie Neal, he'll go to Sarong. So what are the Fremantle players going to do to help Sarong? They're probably going to have Rowbottom go to Brayshaw. So what are the Fremantle players going to do to alleviate the problem, to allow their 2 gun midfielders to get off the chain, or help them get off the chain? Anyway, that will be interesting. Last week Luke Ryan was targeted. He only got his touches from kicking in from full back. They really shut down on him. They'll probably try to look to keep a little bit of a temper on Jordan Clark, who's been a terrific run-off half-back flank dasher. Matthew Johnson has to get a job. Now, where does he go? Does he go to Chad Warner? I don't think he can go with him, but I think he might be able to go with Heaney. So we'll look to see what the matchup is there from Justin Longmuir in that regard. And Luke Jackson came out and, has told the world that he's staying and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot going on in the background there, but he has to take control of this game from centre bounce number 1. He didn't start there last week. They've thrown that out straight away. He has to start in the ruck. He's got the same potential as the coach of the Sydney Swans, Dean Cox. He's got all of that. He's an athlete. He's big. He can take a mark. He can kick a goal. And he can ruck. He can get ground balls as well. So it's really, really important that Fremantle just don't do what Fremantle want to do, because they're going to have a little bit of opposition here today, even though they are undermanned. And Dean Cox, as I say, if he deploys a game plan where he is the hunter, and they should be, that could make things messy for Fremantle. Fremantle should get home, but I don't think it'll be by a big margin.
Okay, hi Marty and Brad. I know that in AFL players' age, Rory Lobb, topspin, is no spring chicken, but I think he's got a little early in joining the blue rinse set. Also, if the umpire free kick count in the Brisbane West Coast Eagles game is 33-14 in the Eagles' favour, they may only lose by 12 to 15 goals. That's from Rusty Gates. Rusty.
Oh, yeah. Look, as I say, we've discussed that earlier. It's not how many you get, it's where you get them.
What about the doomsday result here, Brad? What will happen if Fremantle Dockers don't fire up against Sydney today? The press over here will be gunning for him tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, these are the things, but it just goes to show how many times have we said it, you mean, Shorty? When are the upsets, Marty, in NRL and AFL?
Early.
They're in generally early. Well, we saw one last night. We saw Richmond beat Charlton a week ago. Look, no one's immune from it. And we've got to make sure that people understand these guys are human. They're not robots. It's not played on paper. It's played on grass. And there are a lot of variables that go into it. And if you don't bring the right attitude, you can get caught out. Now Fremantle will be looking to try and again, they can't afford, and even yesterday on my own program, people were looking, they said, Fremantle got a really good run, they could get on a roll. Hang on, beat Sydney first. It's a bit like the boxing caper at the moment.
Yep.
Everybody's got to say, I want to fight Terence Crawford. Hang on, you got knocked out by the bloke you're fighting tomorrow. You've just got to keep your eye on the job. It's such a fickle business, elite sport, that you cannot afford to get ahead of yourself, because if you do, you'll come unstuck.
Well, you've got to stay in the moment, Brad, and we're staying in the moment. Now, I've got to send a big thank you and a cheerio and a well done to David Short. So,
Jodee.
On Friday, he come up with this one that everyone availed themselves to or could, a three-way go, right? It was Autumn Glow, Via Sistina, Private Harry. Pumped it up.
Yeah, what was it?
Pumped it up to $8.42, right?
How much?
But if one of the legs got beat, you got your 50 back. Stop it. Free here.
Shorty, where was the SMS?
And you can I rang him up on Saturday morning. I said, can you tell me how I've got to do this? So it's only $50, but all of a sudden $400 goes in your account after Private Harry wins. Well done. He also nailed his same-game multi in the Adelaide game. He went overs, 165 and... what do you have? Keys, Thilthorpe and somebody else to kick 4 goals, and that was about $450 as well. So he's in a bit of form. He's seen it well. I think he's got one running on the NBL today as well. And what about that game, Brad? Gets underway 11:30 Perth time. No home-siders won in 4 games. Surely Illawarra get it done, don't they?
Unbelievable, isn't it? You can't believe it. And what about the mess they've got where they want to try and get rid of Kesselman, and they're trying to, break away. I mean, on the eve of the final? Seriously, what is going on there? That's quite taken everybody aback. But you're right, Marty. You just would have thought a couple of times. As I say, if you just get ahead of yourself, because a lot of the Melbourne supporters during the week, we'll knock it over.
Gee, they were confident listening to Talkback Radio. It was like they'd won it. I said, hang on here. That was a gutsy performance because they were 2 men down in the run and still were able to get over the top. Both teams were out on their feet. Maybe those old legs at Melbourne are going to find it hard for this 5th game. Travel, they've got to fly to Sydney, bus to Illawarra, all that.
Yeah, there's a lot, as I said, there's a lot of variables in elite sport, Marty, and sometimes even though the confidence levels is outside noise, sometimes it permeates inside the walls, which can sometimes bring you undone.
Okay, we've got the winner of the Sunday Saviour from last week was Barney with an $11 multi. Runner-up was Gordon. Okay, now from the text line, this is from Neil. As a fellow bomber, Adelaide targeted Mackay. They were kicking at Mackay 1 out. How bad does he have to get before they nick him off? That is from Neil. Well, I was working during that game, but every time I looked up, it was 3 different Adelaide forwards with the ball, and Mackay was on the... it was like they couldn't hide him. Yeah, and you pay him $1 million. I know it's just not one man, but he missed a trick there. He should have played Lewis Hayes, the kid. He played him during the pre-season. He showed enough. You're going to lose the game. You needed one more tall down there, down back. Play the kid. Give him a baptism of fire. And why they're holding back on El Hari, they've just got to get him in there as well and play the kids.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, the other thing too is to assist your key defenders and the like. With Harry Edwards last week against, the big fellow. You get to a stage where you've got to
against
try
King.
At least.
Yep.
King, you've got to try and control the ball coming in, how it comes in. If it comes in under no pressure, well, you're really a shag on a rock, and that's what happened to Mackay yesterday. The way that ball was transported into him, or in the general direction of the key forwards yesterday for Adelaide, it makes your job a hell of a lot easier, kicking to advantage.
Watching the races at Moonee Valley yesterday, the track was coming under more criticism after the conclusion of every race, and before the start of the last race, trainer Invajusa Sovic, who had a runner in the last race and is a die-hard St Kilda supporter, didn't come out and criticise the track, but he did liken it to Moorabbin Oval where St Kilda players there. I'm sure Brad would have played on Moorabbin back in the day and can give us an insight onto what the ground was like. Well, they used to water it, didn't they, Brad, when it was raining?
It was very, very heavy, yes. It was the old cow paddock, you needed the Wellington boots there, just to walk through the mud. It was unbelievable. And then, exactly right, Marty, it could be a 34-degree day and you get to Moorabbin on a Saturday afternoon at 2:10 and it should be underwater.
Yeah. They were the days, Brad.
They were the days, mate. They were the days. They play them bowling greens these days.
They certainly do. Well, they'll be playing today, so just quickly have a look at these 3 AFL games prices. First game gets underway 10:10. Brisbane are $1.02. The Eagles are $13. That line is out at 60.5. Second game at 12. Beg your pardon?
I'm just going to go your same game multis. I mean, you're not going to get anything out of $1.02, but you go your same game multis, disposals, goals, something like that. And that's what I'd be saying. And look for a smaller pot. Don't try and go for the big kill.
Too big.
You'll come up all right. Yeah.
Second game at 12:20. North Melbourne are $3. Melbourne are $1.38. That line's at 16.5. Has that game market's moved around a bit? Yeah, the money has come for North. They were $3.30 into $3. So. Melbourne go to $1.38, 16.5, and then Fremantle are playing Sydney. They're $1.64. They got as low as $1.62, so they're just out a little bit. Sydney are $2.25 in from $2.30 after they opened at $2.15. Half an hour before each game, tune in here to Tab Radio, and Brad Hardie will find you a winner. Time for a break.
Coming up around the home corner at the 350. Schwartz just in front of She's Bulletproof, shown the whip. They're 2 lengths to Benedetta, running on from Arabian Summer. Schwartz the first to straighten. Kicks away from She's Bulletproof. Benedetta up the middle. Schwartz halfway up the straight, 100 to go. Benedetta's trying to wear it down. Schwartz netting the post. Benedetta a length away. Schwartz will do it all. Schwartz has won the Group 1 from Benedetta. Jimmy Star late for third. They were followed by Stretton Angel, Reserve Bank, Ray Magnerio.
Well, there he goes, Schwartz winning the Group 1. William Reid, Tom Charlton, coach trainer, joins us. Hi, Tom, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How'd the horse pull up?
Good order. He obviously had a hard run yesterday, but I saw him sort of straight after the race, and to be fair, he was sort of hardly blowing, I thought. So it must have been a very fit horse on the day, I guess.
Tom, Brad Hardie, congratulations, mate. He's becoming a Moonee Valley specialist.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, exactly. He obviously loves that track, and he was really effective around it yesterday, wasn't he? Obviously the track sort of played to his advantage, but I mean they really ran along, and She's Bulletproof never gave him any peace, and sort of that. Jimmy Star was sort of struggling to sort of lay up off the tempo. So, I thought it was a really, really brave effort and one sort of stacked full of quality as well.
A great friend of ours is Anthony Mithen, and he looked absolutely beside himself in tears. And how far out did you pinpoint this was perchance for him to get that Group 1?
I think probably after the Australia Stakes, it was always in the back of our mind. And then obviously when he didn't quite back up into the Ore 2 weeks later, and 1400, and perhaps just a bit close after a big performance. And then we sort of had an option of the Canterbury Stakes, but sort of thought that time between runs and really target this race rather than sort of trying to do both, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Look, it's worked out.
Yeah, it certainly does. It certainly does make sense. And to have him sort of coming back from the 1400 of the Ore, you gave him a couple of top-up trials in between to have him cherry ripe for this. So he now becomes the best performed son of Zeus Star Colt in the land. Does that mean that maybe a race like the Quokka wouldn't be on the radar?
Well, it was talked about before the race yesterday, for sure. And I think, no real plans have been made. So I think we'll just see the horse get back here safe and sound and let the dust settle. It was an option. So we can have a think about it. I think, another race, maybe like the Doomben 10,000 is another option. So there'll be a bit to play out.
Okay, so if you're a slot holder in the West looking for one, it'd be no harm giving Mytho a call?
Well, it wouldn't harm, you can have a conversation anyway.
You got to try.
There's a price on everything, isn't there?
Exactly right.
Hey, Tom, it's great news, though, that you obviously continue to want to race him because he's a very valuable commodity now. Yeah,
I think, he's only had, he's had 12 starts, 12 or 13 now.
12, yeah.
He's pretty lightly raced for a 4-year-old. He obviously missed his sort of whole 2-year-old year, basically, and then had a relatively sort of light 3-year-old. And I think we've just continued to learn about him over that period and seeing what his assets are and how he likes to prepare for a race. And I feel like we got that really right yesterday. The whole team and John, and really pulled off that horse presenting on the day like that, getting every part of the race right and being strong late. So I think there's no reason why he can't continue to go on with it. And he's obviously going to end up at Mytho's farm in time, and it's just when the timing's right for him, because he's obviously got a good value now at stud.
These Group 1s aren't that hard to win after all, are they? 2 in a month?
Yeah, it's a funny game. I've been with John for obviously sort of 6 years now, and in the last few years, the amount of crossbar hits we've had in Group 1s, it's just pull your hair out sometimes, and suddenly things start going, go your way, and you get a bit of luck. It's so important, and I'm just very grateful, and it's a big team effort, so I'm pleased for everyone.
Up in Sydney yesterday, you had a horse called Athabaskan who, unfortunately, it was a terrific run. There's no doubt about that, but the winner was obviously off and gone. What next for Athabaskan? Obviously on what, maybe a Sydney Cup? Is that the target?
Yeah, it is. I think that horse is going as well as he ever has. The race probably wasn't quite run to see him win yesterday with the horse that's clearly performing very well on a lightweight, sort of leading. But he carried a big weight. He was excellent. I think he's going to really come on for that run again. He's now going to go to a chairman's on the 5th. And it's our intention then to back up and have a really, fit horse ready at sort of 53 kilos. Because you say he won the chairman's, he doesn't actually get a penalty, which is new. It's in the conditions. Unless those conditions are wrong, then he's not going to. His weight of 53.5 will not move regardless of the result.
Mate, the stable has been in wonderful form in the last month. Let's give our listeners a chance to hear about some of your runners and where they're going. Snow in May won the Canberra Guineas.
Well, we nominated this weekend for the Emancipation Stakes. He gets in bottom of the set weight penalties. Conditions there were 53. So we'll have a look at that option. I think she enjoys having her races spaced a bit and being fresh. There's not a lot of her, so I think she a filly that sort of appreciates going into those sort of races like that. And then beyond that race, maybe like a James B. Carr, all-age day, 1400 back at Randwick. But we'll learn a bit more about it this coming weekend.
How about King of Thunder off that win at Rose Hill?
Yeah, really like the way this horse is going. I think he's a legitimate Derby horse. Mm-hmm. He'll go to the Tulloch this weekend with the intention of backing up a week later. A
maiden winner, Palimnia, was very impressive at Hawkesbury.
Yeah, again, she's flying and gone to a new level, it seems, this preparation. Like she was running around in Super Maidens with a bunch of weight and did nothing wrong, was racing very well, and then got a chance over 1800, which we probably, last preparation, weren't sure whether she'd run, and she definitely runs it all right. She'll go to the Adrian Knox Stakes on the 5th of April, and she'll get in well at the weights, and 2,000 metres around there. Like she's got a few gears for a sort of 2,000 metre filly as such, and we might give consideration to the South Australian Oaks a few weeks after if she was to run well.
Okay, and that capitalist filly unbeaten, Mamushka?
She'll probably go to, just off the top of my head, I think it's about 10 days' time or 12 days' time. There's a fillies and mares provincial meeting. I think it's at Wyong or Gosford, over 1,200. So we'll bring her along gradually, that filly. She's probably not quite ready to dive into anything too deep.
Now, on a lighter note, Tom, I thought you were going to have the first winner at Goulburn today. Pasticio, a little bit far to go. Are you a little bit dusty after yesterday, or what was going on?
Yeah. He's going to go for a break, that horse. He's actually he's racing very well, but he's still a bit of an immature horse. He'll come back again next campaign, and I say he'll win a maiden in his first couple of starts, hopefully. And
have we got a winner for the week for our listeners over here in the West?
Let me just get up our runners. Just trying to think. Look, I think King of Thunder is probably our best chance. J-Mac's going to ride him. Zach Lloyd, unfortunately, is suspended, not annoyingly. But I tell you what, there's a horse that I think is going really well that will probably run next Saturday. He's called Hampton. It's an import. Just got beat at Hawkesbury the other day. He's working like a horse that will be effective in town in time, and I don't think we've quite seen the best of him. I think he's a horse to follow, especially at sort of provincials at this stage, and he should progress.
Gee, the effect of English trainers and co-trainers, and we see William Haggis over here again trying to steal our money. It's been amazing, the shift that we've seen over the last 10 years, and it's only positive. You have a look at them, say, to Matty Kamani, who probably would be one of the first to come over. And what is it about Australia that's attracting all you English over this way?
From a personal point of view, I came over here for the Melbourne Carnival and spent a few months here and got to see a bit more of the Australian racing, and I thought I better come back and do a little stint up in Sydney or something and learn a bit about how things happen up there. And I did that, and I just sort of stuck my head down, worked hard, and things just kept progressing. And it suddenly got to a point where it probably made more sense for me to stay here than go home. The racing here is so healthy and lucrative at the moment, and it just brings such opportunities for so many people. As you've just spoken of the Dave Eustace of this world. I mean, look where he's got to. I don't think I've got a lot of friends started training in England, and they're doing a fantastic job, but it's like bloody hard. And, it's a real battle to keep your business going and try and get those horses. My brother trains in England, and he's doing, again, a fantastic job, but it's a battle. So it just, it's a great country. It really is. And, to get to live in Sydney, I mean, what's better than that?
Yeah, exactly. And tell us, how did you team up with John O'Shea? How did that come about?
Well, I had a couple of friends, the ones who were sort of speaking of actually that training in England. And when I was coming back out here, I actually travelled down without a job. And a few people sort of said, look, John's a hot bloke, and you'll learn a lot. And he sort of pretty, not long off just finishing off with Godolphin. So I sort of thought he was growing in his team again. I think he probably only had sort of 60 horses or so when I got with him. And I just thought there was an opportunity to perhaps grow and work with him. And you open a door and go left, or you go right. And I guess it's proved. Obviously, I'm delighted with how it's worked out.
And Tom, you must have great staff. I mean, we speak to Annabelle Neesham and others around, Waterhouse Spot, all of these training associations. They've got so many horses. It must be mind-boggling trying to keep up with them all.
Yeah, look, we've probably got sort of 150 horses, which isn't as many as some do, but it's a big management. You got to have, without the staff, you're absolutely nothing. Like, you really are. You can't do the things you want to do without those things being put in place. So we're very fortunate. We've actually got a very sort of young, exuberant sort of team, sort of running the stable, and a lot of them are sort of English, Irish, and French. So we're really lucky with that, and good spelling farms who are great horse people, and you can trust them. They know the routine, and same with the breakers, the pre-trainers. We're just in a system where it works very well, and everyone's got an understanding of sort of what we need to do and how things work. And at the moment the horses are running fantastic. So
just on the staff, because it is a problem over here in the West, how hard is it to attract and retain really good staff over there?
Yeah, it's difficult. It really is. Riders is a big problem. I can't say how important a good rider is for horses. Like I honestly just think it's one of the biggest things. It probably doesn't get talked about enough. Like having good horsemen, and without the horse, you've got nothing. So there's sponsorship deals we're often doing with overseas riders. But dare to say it, I just most of our riders are all international.
Mm-hmm.
And whether in Australia we could do more to bring in that sort of infrastructure to have development of young riders and getting to that. It's a very skilled job, it really is. But it's tough. It is tough.
Yep, sure is. You guys are in wonderful form. It's been terrific to catch up with you today off the back of another Group 1 win. Continued success, and thanks for coming on the program, Tom.
It's a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
There he goes, Tom.
Brilliant.
Yeah, he's good, wasn't he? Really good to catch up.
He is a beauty. Marty, we've been able to track Jeff Fenech down, so we want to give him a quick call. We can between now and top of the hour. So just a quick chat about George Foreman.
Let's take a break and come back with Jeff Fenech.
On the Aftermath, you're listening to Marty Young and Brad Hardie on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
We've got the world champ on. Jeff Fenech joins us. A very good morning, Jeff.
Morning, guys.
We get you out of bed, champion.
I got up at like 10 to 4 to do to the Today Show, but then I just fell back to sleep, but all good.
We're very sad, mate. We know how close that you were with the great George Foreman. Just give us a brief outlook on him, how you met him and how you got on for so many years.
Both being the same trade, and we've been blessed to have been picked in the top 12 fighters in the world. We both received a beautiful Hublot watch on that occasion. But, yeah, I've been around him and the aura of the man and how beautiful he was. He was just the most amazing man. You talk about Ali, their fight was amazing, but this was a special man. He was just, he was beautiful to everybody.
He's very pretty looking too, Jeff, wasn't he? All the way through. It's amazing, the amount of battles he went into, over 80-odd fights, and he came out quite unscathed.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, and then you think about, all the things that he done, and he brought up that grill and made the Foreman grill made more money out of the grill than he did in boxing. He's certainly a smart man, but like I said, he was just so respectful, and I was just blessed to have been able to meet him on many occasions, and on the golf course once with him. I wasn't playing, of course, I was watching, but it was all good.
Hey, Jeff, as a boxer...
both came from a... Sorry.
Okay, you go, Brad.
I was just going to say, Jeff, not only did you share the love of boxing, but yes, you had similar backgrounds, didn't you? Both could have gone down the wrong path as kids and found a way into the boxing gym, and we know the rest is history.
Yeah, definitely so. When you hear Big George as a kid, he was going around beating people up and stuff like that. I was doing that as well, and I was blessed to find the PCYC, and he was blessed to walk into a boxing gym over in the States, and it turned his life around. And like I said, the PCYC turned my life around. So I look both very, very blessed, and we always got on, we always talked, and it was great.
Just back to him as a boxer, Jeff. He had this amazing power and a knockout punch, and when he beat Joe Frazier to claim his first world title, he just took the world by storm in that period.
It was just crazy to watch. You couldn't believe it. I mean, Ali gone 15 rounds with Frazier and 15 rounds with Frazier, and then George just nearly knocks his head off his shoulders in a round or two and finishes the fight. That's why everybody was so confident when George was going to fight Ali. They thought he was going to do the same, but Ali was a different human and made of different stuff. And but like I said, I'm just blessed to have been able to say that. They were my friends and they were family with it. When you're a world champion with the WBC, they call it the WBC family, and I was a part of that. I still am a part of that, and very, very proud.
Jeff, obviously he had a hiatus away from the ring for a while and came back in the 90s and beat Michael Moorer.
Unbelievable what he done for that age. And like I said, they say your power never leaves, and he proved that on that occasion.
Yeah, at 46 years of age, he was the oldest heavyweight champion in history. Quite amazing. So you're saying, when does the power leave then? What age?
Well, I'm not really sure. When you obviously when you lose control of your limbs and stuff, I might lose. But listen, I would have hated him to punch me. I would have hated him to punch me in the head at 70 odd as well. Because yeah. But like I said, listen, it's just it was really mind-boggling to me because I didn't hear that he was sick. I think nobody really knew that he'd been struggling and was sick, and then all of a sudden, these things just happen.
Now, what are you doing in Thailand? You take the boys up there a fair bit for training camps, etc. Is that the business as usual?
Yeah. I had a couple of young boys that I brought over because they're fighting in a week, so we'll leave today to go back home, and just try to get them prepared, and looking forward to getting home and seeing my family. And I'm obviously here with my wife Susie. But the other great thing, just talking about the WBC and the family, and I'm sure George would have been here if he was with us. From November 3rd till December 5, the WBC are having their convention here in Bangkok, which is certainly going to be a great one. So I'm looking forward to meeting them. And we will honour George there for sure. George will be honoured at the WBC convention. I'm really looking forward to that as well.
And richly deserved. And before we let you go, mate, plenty of the SMSs rolling through on the Retrovision text line, just inquiring about your own health, because you had your own issues in recent years.
Yeah, it's crazy that 2 times in 5 years I was like one day away from death. I mean, had I went to bed either of those nights, I wouldn't be here talking to my mate. So, like I said, I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm as blessed as I am to be here. Like I said, I'd hate to go through what I went through the last time. It was the worst thing. And it wasn't what I went through, it was what I put my family through, because I was hallucinating in hospital, thinking my daughter was trying to kill me. All these were just had these crazy things happening to me while I was in hospital, and I'd hate to go through it again. But like I said, that's life. I'm still here, but the devil didn't want to take me, and he was too scared of me.
Well, you keep fighting him off. Hey, Jeff, it's been great to catch up. All the best, and looking forward to your fighters doing well in the future.
Thank you so much. Always love your support, and thank you, guys.
There he goes.
On your brother.
Jeff Fenech. Thanks for setting that one up, Brad. What an honour to chat with a great man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's a ripper. And, look, as I say, he's had his own health issues in recent years, Marty. And as you can see how, delighted it is, I suppose. People say that, don't they? When they get near to death, they think, oh, hang on a minute. Like we get a bit blasé about life at times, don't we? We sort of think, it's just all going to keep rolling on, and everything's going to be fine. But unfortunately for a lot of families and a lot of people, it doesn't.
I didn't want to ask him because I didn't think it was the right forum, considering he's just got up. We're talking about George. But How does he feel, and you would know this, about a Zuma Nelson 3 Las Vegas when he was robbed?
Oh, no. It's something you never get over.
Yeah.
You can't get over that. You just don't get over that. You can try, but it'll always be the itch you cannot scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Now we had that little trumped-up thing over here a few years ago where him and Zuma got in the ring, at Rod Laver Arena, for instance, but it was only, it was a bit of a PR stunt, really, more than anything else. It's not the real deal. I mean, some of those things you just love to have your time over again, Marty. You know what I mean? But you can't. I mean, and that is something where he was robbed, absolutely, and, Zuma will come out and say that he was ill and give all excuses in the world. That's fine. But once you get in the ring, once you go across the white line, it's game on. And he was fairly robbed, big time, maximum. And yet you can't scratch that itch because you can't go back there.
I'll let you in on this happened. I was running the Ascot Inn at the time of that fight. That fight came in on a Saturday morning before the races. The place was packed, right? You could not get another person in there, and it's a very big pub, the Ascot Inn. I won't mention the name of the union, but these guys from this particular union come in there, big union guys, and they had that much cash that they put onto Nelson, and everyone just backed them. They just, because it was all about Jeff Fenech. And a good mate of ours who's just passed, Bruce Morris, said, "Hey," he said, "I think we're off here." He said, "I think we're off it."
Squiddly?
Yeah, he knew, and, the rest is history. Not saying it was rigged, but I am saying it was rigged.
Oh, look, I mean, there's been any number of examples of where there have been unbelievable decisions in the world of boxing. That's been the biggest problem, Marty. We try and get it on the straight and narrow, and you're trying to think it's all above board, but there's so many issues in that period of time where judges and promoters are intertwined and all of that sort of stuff. So no surprise there, mate.
Okay, 10 winners across Rose Hill, Moonee Valley, Ascot for a $200 profit. Mr. 9-leg multi paying $8,540 from a dollar stake with 6 legs in. Then Woderton and Outback Miss let me down. But all good fun. That is Jim of Pommy Pie. Okay, he's a beauty.
Surely you're doing on a couple of grand, let alone that much.
Hey, I tell you what, on
9 legs.
Friday night, Jess Earnshaw always throws out one special Friday night at Mandarin. This was it. Let's have a listen.
Racing. First away, Toad with Durango Manelli, Junkyard Clyde. Going forward, Wise Move. The inside, Go Seek Ariana. Well back west on Kaiser, Sunset Worm. And dropping right out the back, Soul Jacker. Toad the leader by 3. Junkyard Clyde the danger. 5 away, Go Seek Ariana and Wise Move. But the favourites have got it between them. Toad and Junkyard Clyde. Toad still by a couple. And Toad, 2.5. Junkyard Clyde, Go Seek Ariana, Wise Move. And then Durango Manelli. Sunset Worm.
Okay, there is Toad, and that was on Friday night, winning a heat of the Canyana Cup. And joining us is Jodee Jennings to talk about that win. Hi, Jodee.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Marty Young here in Perth, and Brad Hardie's in Melbourne, and of course,
morning, Judd.
Mum and Dad Dave and Christine Robertson, who run this dog. They were recently inducted into WA Racing Hall of Fame. But first off, let's talk about Toad's win. Does it set it up for the final?
Well, he's hoping. I think so. Look, we know that he's very capable. He's a very smart boy and can run some great times. And he obviously likes the inside draw. So we've been really lucky that he has got box 2 for the final next week. So hopefully he jumps out like he did.
Ooh.
Brad, Jodee, congratulations. That is fantastic. Now, I understand Shorty's given us a bit of background here. Is this dog owned by a fellow trainer? And if that's the case, why isn't that trainer training the dog?
Yeah, it is. He's owned by Morgan Turner. And because we've only probably had Toad, I think, maybe a couple of months in our kennels. So, but Morgan is sort of, he was full-time training and then has gone back now to full-time work. So I think he's realised that having quite a lot of dogs is quite hard. So, and he's got a young family as well. So just before the Perth Cup, he sort of said, would we be interested in taking Toad on? And we said, definitely. We had seen Toad trial as a pup and knew that he had lots of ability. So, so we were really grateful that Morgan and Karis offered him to us.
Jodee, can I take a leap of faith here? Can I just assume that Morgan's a Neighbours fan or something? How did the name Toad come about?
Yeah, and I don't actually know, and that's actually his kennel name as well. So he's got called Toad all the time, and he's quite a beautiful boy, so I don't know if it really suits him that much.
Well, he looks to have ability, and she said he's drawn a box 2 for the final. Have you had a look at the rest of the field, and should he be hard to beat, do you think?
I think he will be hard to beat. Like, look, going by the times, he, was a few lengths quicker than the next dog. So as long as he begins, he likes to have his own room. He likes to be out the front and go. So I think if he gets held up back in the crowd, he doesn't really like to be crowded. So if he jumps and begins, I think it'll be his.
Oh, good.
Jodee, Marty mentioned your parents, but you play a huge part in this operation. Give yourself a pat on the back. Tell us exactly what your role is.
Well, I suppose I have just decided this year to take on full-time being at the kennels. Prior to that, I used to work at a school, but I've now retired from school, and I spend 7 days a week at the kennels with Mum and Dad, and obviously they're getting a little bit older now, so they need a little bit extra hand, and I love it. Couldn't think anything better than hanging out with the greyhounds all day.
So who are easier to handle, the kids or the greyhounds?
Definitely the greyhounds.
That's why you heard of that saying, don't we, with kids or animals?
I know, and I go from one to the other. Silly, I think.
How much did Mum and Dad getting inducted into the WA Racing Hall of Fame mean to the family?
Oh, it meant so much to us, It's just one of those things that I suppose you hear about people getting inducted and don't think that you're going to be yourself. And when they did, and then just also once they were inducted that night, to hear the accolades and what they actually have done over the years, you just forget, because they've been involved in greyhounds 40 plus years, you forget how much they have achieved, and it was amazing.
Yeah, well, you're keeping up the great work for them, that is for sure, and good luck. Will Toad win next week?
We're on it.
Fingers crossed, I hope you will.
Good on you. Thanks, Jodee. Appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you. Bye.
There she goes, Jodee Jennings. Right, talking about winners, Sunday saviour time.
I'm going to Goulburn today, Marty. Three-legger. Now we're going to get a race 2, number 2, Zoo Tempest, at $2.30. And then we're going to race 3, number 4, Northern Eagle, at $2.45. And then we're going to race 5, number 4, Written Gold, at $2.40. And that rounds out around about $13.52, Marty.
So Goulburn, 2-2, 3-4, 5-4. 2-2, 3-4, 5-4. Text here, guys. Thanks for having Jeff Fenech on, listening to him speaking of the sad passing of the great George Foreman. Boomer Harvey is swapping the boots for boxing gloves and getting in the ring with Hayden Ballantyne next month at the RAC Arena. Hayden was hoping to get an ex-Eagle in the ring, but no offers. The fight is to raise money for mental health. That is from Lisa. There you have it.
Okay.
Okay.
I assume that would be a lightweight belt.
All right. Hey, Brad, all the best, mate. Thanks for coming on.
All the best, Marty. Have a great day.